Well, Franco, your new show, What's the Best Carpet to Buy? I mean, that has got to be the $1,000,000 question for some people.
Well, it's at least a few $1,000 question.
Yeah.
But look, it depends on a whole raft of different factors.
Yeah.
There is no one particular fibre that is going to be the be-all and end-all. I mean, like with everything else, there is no perfect solution to anything. You've got to look for the best solution to whatever you're trying to look for. The problem is that most people, when they look for carpet, it's about how the carpet looks. It's about how it feels, how the colour blends in with what you're trying to achieve in your home. So not a lot of thought really gets put into the longevity of the carpet or the maintenance requirements of that carpet. It really doesn't get discussed at the purchase stage, and it's really an emotive buying decision rather than a practical decision in most cases.
I must admit, when I've been to the built and I've gone to the carpet shop with my wife, the very first thing I do is run my hands over that carpet.
Oh, yeah.
Is it soft?
Is it soft or is it not? Everybody wants it to be soft.
But that's got problems.
Well, it's like with anything else. You get something soft and there's going to be some durability issues with it. Not so much that they're terrible issues, but you have to be aware of that and have to be able to make sure that the situation you're going to put it in will be compatible with that, and then that your maintenance regime is compatible with that as well. Because they're not going to perform as well as a carpet that's going to be able to take the punishment, being whatever type of fibre it is, that's just that little bit more durable, or it's a thicker, it's a more expensive quality. There's a whole lot of things that come into it.
So when someone's looking for carpet, in your experience, where do they normally start? You mentioned like softness and things like that, like me running my hands through it.
That's probably one of the biggest things is how it feels. Because really, you're in your home, you want to be comfortable. You don't want something harsh under your feet that you're going to look at and think, oh, well, it kind of looks the right colour, but it feels awful when I walk on it. Am I happy with it? No. That's a real problem. The other side of the problem is as well that you get that one that feels wondrously soft and all the rest of it, but then it's not standing up to the trafficking that it's getting in that particular area. So whilst it might have felt fantastic when it's new, it's not performing as well as it should, to your expectations at least.
Wow. So, can I ask you this? Is it the more money you spend on a carpet, the better the carpet is?
As a general rule, kind of yes, but no. There is no one
clarity on the show.
Absolutely. And like I said, it really depends on the situation that you're going to be putting it into. Okay, you can get some fairly soft carpets that do stand up to a fair bit of trafficking, and they're quite stain resistant and all the rest of it. But then they have other maintenance issues that if the person who's doing the maintenance on it doesn't understand it, can actually make an absolute botch of it. So once again, it's really got to understand the product that you're buying, and there are limitations with everything, and that's where you need to educate yourself. Unfortunately, going to a retailer, most of them don't understand the differences between the fibres. They get the spiel from the carpet manufacturers and it's like, okay, that's what it says and that's what it is. But the truth and the reality is that people like us have to go out and deal with it, and we have to know it and understand it. When there is something new that comes onto the market, you've got to understand what the fibre is and how it's going to react to the way you're going to clean it, and plan a system around that. It's not just a case of like, yeah, we've got some detergent and water and we treat fibre X like that, so we treat fibre Y like that too. It just doesn't work that way.
I know it doesn't work that way. You said water then, it reminded me of a story you once told me about this beautiful, luxurious, I think it was a wall carpet, and it doesn't like water.
No.
So you wouldn't want to treat that with water.
No, well this one was actually a bespoke carpet, so it was custom made for the client, so it was a lot of money. Okay,
wow.
And to be honest, you looked at this carpet and oh my God, it looked fantastic, it felt fantastic. It was a wool, but it had viscose in it. Now, the problem with viscose is that it is very prone to what's called cellulosic browning, so when it gets wet, it releases a natural dye called the lignin dye, and it leaves this brown haze over the carpet, which can be really difficult to remove. So this carpet technically couldn't get wet, but the customer was never told.
Ooh.
So they've paid $1 squillion for this carpet throughout their beautiful home, I have to say.
Yeah.
But this carpet couldn't get wet, so how do you clean it? And what happens, as it happened to them, that grandchild number one comes along and promptly spills the cup of water onto the carpet, which shouldn't be an issue with any other carpet. With that carpet, there's this beautiful brown patch on the carpet where that water was spilled. They weren't made aware of the problem with that carpet. And as a carpet cleaner coming in and doing a normal wet cleaning process on that carpet, he could have actually destroyed it.
Ooh.
So you would need to understand that, and then to
Yes.
understand the composition of the fibres that you're working with, because it's not always just the one fibre. Like I said, that one was a mix of
That
fibres.
was a mix.
And it was done that way to make it look better, because it's also called faux silk or art silk, viscose rayon. They're all the same thing. They're a reconstituted cellulose fibre. But they're made to imitate silk. So this carpet looked and felt silky.
Yeah.
It was primarily wool, but it had that viscose content in it. So it looked and felt absolutely wondrous to me. To walk over it is just like walking on a cloud. It was beautiful. and it just the sheen off it was fantastic.
Yeah.
So brand new on the floor. Oh my God, it was spectacular. Put water onto it and oh my God, what a problem.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, you said it was difficult to clean off. Now, you've been in the industry for a few years.
Yep. One or two or three.
With a few qualifications. Check out your page, a couple of pages of them there. How difficult was it for someone with your experience? Well, one, could you fix it? And even with your experience, how difficult it was for someone like yourself?
Look, that was a nightmare job from start to finish, because there was a whole lot of water that came into that house as well, not just that one little carpet. They had a bit of a problem with the roof, and there was about 20 millimetres of carpet that got affected. That was all browned out, and it was going to have to be replacement if that couldn't be repaired. Involved shifting a lot of furniture as well, which was bolted into the property, so it had to be dismantled. It had gone through into built-in robes, it had gone through into bedrooms, it had gone through all sorts of places. So we had to dry it out, which was a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
And then deal with the browning issue, because obviously as soon as they got in contact with the water, that lignin dye was released, and there's beautiful tide marks everywhere. So that took me a few hours on my hands and knees, slowly edging it out. I managed to get it out to, I wouldn't say it was an absolutely perfect result, but it was an acceptable result for the client. And if they're happy, then everyone's happy. Everyone's had a win. So the insurance company obviously had a huge win because they didn't have to pay out for replacement on that carpet. It was very inconvenient for the client because it did take around a week for the whole process to go through. But yeah, if I hadn't known what I was doing and what I was dealing with, I could have made a complete botch of it and just ruined the carpet. It would have been a replacement job anyway.
Yeah. So when you're looking at carpets, obviously that's a bit of a warning one. Maybe ask, can it get wet? Maybe take a cup of water with you into the showroom and tip some on the sample.
Well,
see what happens.
See what happens. Yeah, I'm not too sure that too many retailers will be too happy with that. And really, it's like you buy a car, and you're going to believe the salesman and everything they say. No, if you really want to find out the performance of those sorts of vehicles, you go to a mechanic and say to a mechanic, are you aware of any problems with these vehicles? And they'll give you the rundown on it. I know I've done it a couple of times myself in the past when I've had a vehicle that I want to purchase, particularly for business purposes, where I've run it by a mechanic and they said either no, just don't touch it, or yes, but there's these issues you need to be aware of and look out for on the vehicle that you are buying. So that was great advice. Now, guess what? We're here. We can give the advice. But as a carpet cleaner, a professional carpet cleaner, and I'm not talking about just some guy that you just find it happens to be advertising in your local whatever.
Hide his gear from Bunnings.
Well, yeah, that's right. If you've got someone, especially from the Carpet Cleaning Association, you stand half a chance of having someone that understands fibre. Ask them the question: will this carpet be suitable for the purposes that I want it for? Okay. Now, a lot of people look. Wool is fantastic, and there's no two ways around it. Synthetics are all trying to copy wool. Okay. Wool will hide dirt, and wool is great at hiding dirt. That's one of its main benefits. It's not that it stays any cleaner than the other synthetic fibres. It just hides it for longer, but it needs to be cleaned as regularly as the other ones because there's still the same amount of soil in there. Okay. So and that's a bit of a common myth with wool that it's better than synthetics and for this, that, and the other. It is the king of fibres. But once again, if you have it in a situation where you're going to have a lot of little kids running around and spilling things on the carpet, it's probably not such a great thing. If you have allergies, you get a lot of dust off the wool, the actual wool itself that's starting to break down, and that can be an irritant for someone with allergies. So for them, that's not the ideal carpet. Is it the king of carpets? In general terms, yes, it wears really well. Its resiliency is fantastic. The ability for it to bounce back time and time again in a traffic area, or if it gets flattened, how we can actually get it back up to where it needs to be. Wool's brilliant in that regard. So if you've got the budget for wool, and you've got the right situation for wool, yeah, wool is a fantastic product. But then there's other ones you need to look at, especially if you do have allergies, and if you do have a lot of little kids, then some of the synthetics might be a better option for you.
Now, when it goes to synthetic, we've talked about wool, and it goes to synthetic carpets, and I kind of go, okay, so we've got nylon, and that's where I kind of stop at. They're all nylon.
I'd be surprised, actually, the amount of retailers that have said the same to me. There's just nylon. Well, no, actually, they're not.
Right.
So, yes.
So there's a few different types of synthetics.
Yeah, look, with synthetics, you've got your nylons, you've got your polyesters, which are kind of related. Then you have your polypropylenes, and they're the most common fibres that you're going to find in your carpet ranges. And you'll sometimes get blends of them as well. If you want to make a wool cheaper, they mix it 50-50 with polypropylene. Polypropylene is plastic. It's just about inert.
Right.
But when you get one of those carpets, they're just a nightmare to clean. The problem is that the pH of limitation of wool is extremely low because it's a protein, it's an amino acid, so we use alkaline detergents to clean it. So we've got to be really careful to use gentle chemistry, and you don't need harsh chemistry to clean the wool. The polypropylene, on the other hand, it's a petrochemical product, so it's oil-based, and it loves oil, soaks into it. And the only way to really attack the polypropylene effectively, if it's heavily soiled, is with a high pH degreasing kind of detergent. But now, you've got to look at it. It's like we've got wool and polypropylene together. One tolerates high pH and the other one doesn't. How can you come up with a cleaning parameter?
Who came up with that kind of carpet? I mean,
it's a way to make wool cheaper.
Right.
Okay. But then you get some really high-end carpets, like you get Axminsters. They're a woven carpet, not a tufted carpet. Now, these things are worth a lot of money. Pub carpets, what it quite often gets described as. That's what you find in your hotels, etc. It's guaranteed to last 10 years in a pub. They're a brilliant carpet, absolutely beautiful. But quite often they're blended 80-20 with nylon.
Oh.
Yes, so it's 80% wool, 20% nylon. Nylon is really cleanable, okay? And it has some kind of similar properties to your wool, because nylon's a polyamide, amides, amino acids. So there's a connection there. So they blend really, really well, but you get the cleanability of the nylon with the wearability and durability of the wool, and they both look fantastic. And I tell you what, those carpets there, they will last and last and last. I've seen them 50 years old.
Oh, so here's the question.
Yeah.
Is an Axminster, you called it?
That's correct.
Is that the best carpet in the world?
No, then there's a Wilton.
Oh.
It's another form of weave again. It's another woven carpet again, but it's even heavier body than the Axminster is. The Axminster is always cut pile, and the Wiltons can also be cut or loop pile or both. So they've got a little bit more flexibility, with colour. If you can afford it, they're a fantastic carpet.
Okay, so I was going to say, why don't they just start going towards these are the best carpets, but it's affordability. It's
affordability. Now, once upon a time, it was only woven carpets you have. So you look at some of the older properties, if they have their original carpets, they're going to be woven. Right. And they're going to be quite fragile because of the cotton jute backings that are in them. But the problem was that there's only a very small percentage of the population that could afford them, even these days. Tufted carpets, on the other hand, solved the affordability issue. So all of a sudden we have these tufted carpets came into the market and anyone can buy them. You know, we've got some really, really cheap carpets out there, and sometimes it's one of the cheapest way to put flooring into your property. But once again, as I said, we've got to look at what type of carpet you've got and the situation you're going to put it into.
Yeah. So you've said about the wool and the different mixtures. Do you have a personal favourite?
Do I have a personal favourite? Once again, it boils down to where it's going to be put.
So let's say your average family home.
Yep.
And I'm going to pick two spots because I know they'll be different. So say by the beach, so the beachfront property. Is there a type of carpet that's more suitable for that type of environment? Because the sun's coming in, we've got sand, we've got salt, we've got all sorts of things happening.
That's right, yeah. Okay, I would probably lean towards a nylon carpet, but not a cheap end nylon. Okay, there's quite a few different types of nylon again. Okay, so we can have acid-dyed nylons. Now, in a situation where it's near the beach, acid-dyed nylons really aren't going to cut the mustard because you've got a lot of ozone developments near the beach, you've got salt in the air, you've got a lot of UV exposure, obviously, because you're going to take advantage of the views if you're down by the beach.
Yeah.
So all those will break down acid-dyed nylons, as they will on wools as well, that are also acid-dyed. So because you're adding a dye to it, they tend to break down and they will fall out. after a period of time. Solution dyed nylons, on the other hand, what happens with those acid dyed nylons, the dye is added after the carpet is manufactured, or the fibre is manufactured, I should say. Whereas with your solution dyed, because it's synthetic, it's basically what they do is they put it in a really simple terms, in a big pot, melt it. Okay, so it's now molten. Okay, throw in your pigment. Right. So the colour then goes right through the whole fibre. And so then when it's actually formed into the fibre, it's no longer just on it, it's in the fibre.
In it.
So because of that, it's inherently more stable for colour, so it's not going to fade off quite as significantly as the other types.
Yeah. Okay, so solution dyed nylon for people in the beach.
That's right. But once again, there's different grades of it.
So chat to someone like yourself to find out the right type of grade.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it change then if I'm in like the inner city or like the suburbia? You know,
yep. Yeah, look, you've got different conditions there. So quite often the acid dyed nylons will still be quite happy as far as the performance goes. They're not going to be as crucial as it is down by the beachside.
Yeah.
Okay. But then once again, your solution dyed nylons are always going to be more stable in colour. So if you're looking for the longevity, the nylon, tell you what, it lasts and lasts and lasts. I've got nylons in my own house. They're 28 years old and they're still kicking.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So longevity is not an issue. They don't wear out. Okay. If they're maintained properly, they stay looking great for years and years. I mean, my carpets are due for replacing because the backings are starting to give way. But the nylon fibre itself, you know, when I say to people that I'm about to replace my carpets, they look at me and go, "You nuts? Why? They look great." Because I know the carpet's not quite where it needs to be anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I think a lot of us don't pay much attention to is when we buy these carpets is in the underlay.
Yes.
I mean, once again, I'm probably one of those people that go in and give it a squish and a squash and, oh, that's nice and thick. That'll be fantastic underlay, that will.
Yeah.
That'll be comfy. I'll buy that one.
Once again, it boils down to how you want them to form and the position that they're going to be put into.
Yeah.
Okay, so foam is just the duck's guts when it comes to the comfort side of things.
Right.
Okay, but with some carpets, having too much give under the back of it can actually have a detrimental effect to the actual backing of the carpet itself. So it can be too soft. The other problem is if they ever get wet with the foam underlay, it's an automatic replacement. If you have the rubber, waffle, that stuff there, you can get that wet and it's not a problem. And it's also less allergenic than your foam is.
Okay.
So once again, what are your conditions that you need to deal with? And that's the sort of things you need to discuss. If you've got serious allergies and you go and put a wool carpet on a foam underlay, you've just done yourself a great disservice and you've spent a lot of money doing it. So was that the best fit for you? Then I'd say probably not.
So an allergy, you would be going more the nylons or something like that with a rubber underlay?
Yeah, and if you're in an area that is prone to any sort of moisture coming into it, like sometimes it might be in a back room, an enclosure or something like that. It's not that well built. I've seen plenty of those leak. Then that would be a better option for you. Okay. The backings as well. If you've got jute backings on carpets, which is a natural fibre, they don't like getting wet. But then you've got these synthetics like your soft back or action back. If you've got an area that you know is prone to moisture, like next to a bathroom, it's another thing you might need to consider.
Hold on. What's an action back?
Action back is a polypropylene backing. It's losing favour these days because it's harsh and it's really hard for carpet layers to put in. You drag it across a wall and you'll just take paint off it. It's that horrible.
Oh, really?
And it's really difficult to stretch, especially if it's cold. If it is cold, it needs to be put into a heated room for a while and let it relax so that you can actually get some stretch into it.
Really?
So,
joy.
But I mean, look, in a situation where you have a lot of moisture, then they're going to work. They don't care if they get wet. Polypropylene is inert.
Yes.
It will not be affected by moisture in any way, shape or form. A jute backing, on the other hand, will start to rot.
Ooh.
And that's the end of that. It's pick it up, throw it away, because then you have other issues, health issues related to it once again. So,
one of the things we were talking off air, and just so people get, because this is how complicated it becomes if they don't talk to someone like yourself.
Yeah.
You were talking, you say, well, you can have a nylon 6 or a nylon 6,6, and I'm going, hold on, what's going on here?
Yeah. Well, so even with nylons, you've got different grades of nylon.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have your nylon 6 and your nylon 6,6. They're both essentially nylon, and they're the same essential core thing, but the nylon 66 is a double density molecule. So it's literally double the weight. It has, as a result, less area for stains to be able to get into, so it's more stain resistant. It's more resilient because it's a lot stronger. It's double the density of the molecule, so it's actually more there to play with. And so therefore, for longevity purposes, the nylon 66 just wins outright.
Wow. You said then about stains getting in, and
Yes.
a lot of the things we hear, and I don't know any overseas, but here we had Mr. Pro Hart paint all his stuff all over the carpet.
That was one of the worst ads for the carpet industry ever.
Mr. Hart, and she goes with a scrubbing brush and a bucket.
Magically everything disappears, and I wish that was the real world. It's not.
Right.
Now, the stain protection is put onto some of these carpets, and that's the other thing you do have. If you do have a nylon carpet, you really want to make sure that you've got a stain-protected nylon carpet and not an unprotected one.
You're right.
Because they will still stain very, very rapidly, whether it's nylon 6 or 6.6.
Yeah.
They accept acid dyes, and all your things like your soft drinks, like your red cordials or
Yeah.
your orange lollipop, whatever, they all contain food dyes, and they're acid dyes. So guess what? They dye your carpet beautifully. Just because you've got a solution dyed nylon as well, but you say that the colour is in the fibre, doesn't mean to say that those dye sites aren't still available on the outside of the fibre. It's still a nylon fibre, so those dyes will bond.
Right.
So with nylon carpets, you'll have soil protectors.
Yeah.
Those protector, not proofer. There's two different things.
Right.
Okay, so they're there to protect the carpet, and it just gives you some time to be able to get it off the carpet before it becomes an issue. They also have acid dye resistors on them, and an acid dye resistor essentially is a colourless dye, so it fills up those dye sites that I was just talking about on your nylon carpet. Clever piece of technology, but if you leave it on there, it will still find its way through because the acid dyes in those foods are a little bit stronger than those colourless dyes that they're using, and so they will displace them over time if you don't get it off. But if you get it off straight away, every chance in the world that you won't have a stain left behind. So they do work, they work fantastically, but it's not a proofer. You still need to be able to get onto it and deal with it immediately.
When we talk about stain protectors and dye protectors and so forth, do they wear off over time on our carpets?
Oh yes, yeah. They're a topical coating. So in other words, they're just put it onto the fibre.
Yeah.
So by the fact that we're walking over the top of it, then we're agitating, we're vacuuming it and doing all the rest of it, over a period of time it does wear off, and even just cleaning can remove some of that. So the general rule of thumb is 5 years, 3 cleans. Okay,
Right.
whichever comes first, then they say, well, there's no real protection left. There might be a modicum of protection, but it's not going to be that effective anymore.
So what can we do about the protection? Can that be put on again by someone like yourself?
Yes, that's right. We do have aftermarket products that we can use.
Okay.
So if people want to keep their carpets in tip-top condition, then we just can actually top up that same protector, even with the acid dye resistor in there as well, with the more expensive ones. So yeah, there is that possibility to maintain them.
Does that, and we talked about like the nylons, but can we do that the same on the wool carpets?
There are protectors you can get for wool carpet, but they're not the same. So people who try to put stuff onto a wool carpet, they're probably doing the customer a disservice because there is a different bonding mechanism that needs to be taken into account, so it needs to be a different product. It's a specialised product once again.
Right, okay. Now, the other thing is when someone may not got the stain off straight away and they go to spot clean, now I don't want to put any company down, but I've seen the ads and we can go down to the supermarket.
Yep.
And get the old shake and bake, I would call it, sprinkle it on, give it a bit of a scrub in and vacuum it off, and voila.
Yeah, but you'd like to think so. I love advertising.
People ring you up and say, it didn't work, Franco.
No, and look, if you've got a stain that is still wet, they can have a bit of an effect on them. Sometimes detrimental and sometimes positive. Any of those dry types, they're really limited in their cleaning ability. And we're talking about just the powder ones.
Yeah,
okay? There's a dry foam and there's the dry powder, and they're two different things.
Yeah.
Dry powder, they're okay to use in a general sense. But I certainly wouldn't go as far as to say that they're a fantastic cleaning product and get every stain out of the carpet, because it just simply won't. I mean, we do use a similar system in the carpet cleaning industry as well.
Yeah.
And it's a maintenance method to be able to get something dry really quickly and have it clean and ready for use. Clean, presentable and ready for use in a very short time frame. Within half an hour it's done, it's dry.
One thing I must say about, and just coming from like the building industry, I've always thought that if I'm sprinkling stuff on and I don't get it off, can these cleaners leave like residues? 'Cause
Absolutely.
I've seen people clean them and like the stain looks like it's gone, but there's still this.
This white mass, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
a lot of times when people, especially using bicarb soda,
Yes.
yeah, that's a classic example of those.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's bleached area, and especially if it was wet, if it's gone on while it's still wet, it's all bonded to the fibre now, stuck there firmly. If you've got just a normal suction vacuum cleaner,
Yeah.
ain't no way in the world that's coming out. Okay, so we need to be able to vacuum that off and be able to pull it out somehow. Sometimes it needs to be rinsed out. The other thing I do find that if people use that shape and vac regularly over the carpet because they're trying to deodorise and make it smell better, it makes our life a misery as a cleaner when we come to the end of it to try and clean it. It blocks up filters. It's really hard, especially even with hot water extraction, which is the most flushing system there is available to clean carpet. You cannot get all of it out, and then the carpets end up stiff and crunchy, and they just it's a whole lot of associated issue. I don't like the product myself, and I certainly don't advise people to use it. You're much better to clean your carpets on a regular basis than it is to use these products. With those ones there, every time you're adding more stuff into the carpet, you're creating more issue. If you're not getting it out completely, and you won't be if you're using just a barrel vacuum cleaner rather than an upright type vacuum cleaner, it's not going to work.
Not going to work. Someone now, they're building or they've just bought a house and they've pulled the old carpets they're about to, and they want to go and buy some nice new carpet for their house. What are 2 or 3 top tips you could give them, apart from ringing you, which I would do,
right?
But apart from ringing you, what are 2 or 3 top tips they could just have in the front of their mind, maybe to ask about these carpets or select?
Okay, well, when it comes to nylon carpets, really, if you're going to be going anything under the SDN, the solution dyed nylons, the one with colour in it rather than on it, look, they're just going to be better in the long term for that fade resistance that is inbuilt into that fibre. So to me, that's a more logical choice to go to. They're also much easier to deal with stain removal for me as a professional side of things, because when we have the non-SDN carpets, whilst we might be getting those dyes out, if those dyes are really tenacious, we might be taking the colour of the carpet out with it, which then means you've got to re-dye the carpet and there's all the extra effort involved. With the solution dyes, you can hammer them a lot harder, get the result, but still have no colour loss, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, they'll take up the dyes, but they'll release them and still have the original colour left behind. So they're easy to deal with in that regard. So with the little kids and bits and pieces like that, then that's great. You also have things like your polyester carpets and triexter. Triexter is a development of the polyester. It's the new green eco-strand or smart strand. It's sold under a few different things, but they're all basically, they have about a 20% natural content. Like it's going to be something like your cornstarch, or it can be bamboo as well, or a sugar byproduct. But they've got that natural, so they're green and clean and all the rest of it.
Right.
Now, they're really good in a situation where you have pets, for instance, because they release stains like there's no tomorrow. In fact, a lot of the pet-proof carpets are made from that fibre. Yeah. But they're incredibly intolerant of any detergent residues. And so if you get someone who doesn't understand that fibre and tries to treat a spot somewhere on the carpet, it'll just come back on them time and time and time again, ad nauseum. You'll just be chasing your tail, because if he doesn't understand that the detergent is a problem and he keeps adding detergent to it, it actually ends up making it worse every time, not better. Okay, so with triexters, they have a certain cleaning regime that they are supposed to follow. The manufacturers say don't use detergent. There's no need to use detergent. They're absolutely fantastic. And that's true if it's a water-based stain that's hit the carpet. But once again, polyesters have a real affinity to oil. So we need some form of detergency or solvency to be able to draw that off the fibre, which you can't do with water. Oil and water don't mix.
No.
So you can clean it with as much water as you like. It ain't going to come out. So, we do need to have a look at that. But we've got to understand that while we have to use the detergents to get it off the fibre, we can't have the detergent sitting on the fibre either, because detergents are petrochemicals of themselves.
Yeah.
So you're chasing your tail.
Right.
So you've got to be really careful with it. And there are ways around it for a professional carpet cleaner. They will know and understand that.
Yeah.
Then we've got the other end of the scales, the polypropylenes that are cheap as. They're really cheap. Now, if you're on a very limited budget, they're still a good carpet in the right situation. But certainly they have a really strong affinity to oil. If you do a lot of cooking where you say you love your stir fries, for instance.
Yes.
okay, you've got a lot of oil going up the atmosphere and they're going to land somewhere, normally on the floor somewhere. And if you've got a polypropylene carpet, it gets a bit sad. It gets sad for you. The carpet loves it. Okay, but it gets sad for the person trying to clean it because it becomes very difficult to clean off. So in that sort of a situation, a polypropylene, a very durable carpet, but they have no resiliency. So if you've got one with a deep pile, they go flat and they stay flat. You cannot get them up. Absolutely no way in the world that they're going to come up again.
Oh, really?
The polyesters are sort of sit somewhere in between the nylons and wools.
Yeah.
They will come up very easily. They've got a very good resiliency. The wool's the best. Polyester, they start to suffer a little bit. And then your polypropylenes, they just go flat and they stay there, and no amount of coaxing will get them back up again. So if you've got there are some carpets around the place that they mimic the walls, so they're a nice thick cut pile and they look brand new, they look fantastic and they feel fantastic. In fact, we had a workshop for the association a little while back, and we had some of these new ones that are coming out, and they were misidentified by touch as wool carpet. And they said, right, do your burn test on it, and burnt it, and it's like, oh, it's not wool. Oh, it's polypropylene? They couldn't believe it themselves, but it's like, yeah, guess what? You're going to get stung out in the marketplace if you think that you're going to go out there and clean a wool carpet and it's actually polypropylene, because they're completely different to each other and they cannot be cleaned in the same way without issues. But again, the same for your customer. You're going to think that it looks like wool and it feels like wool. It's not going to perform like wool. Just, it can't.
So I guess that's the advantage of the association, is you're constantly educating and testing and making sure that the members of the association don't get caught out, which would be very easy to do.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why I think a lot of the guys get sick of me harping on at them, because I'm the training officer for the association. It's like, we must do this, follow procedure. And look, to be fair, most of the guys do this. It's part and parcel of what they have to be able to do to even get into the association with full membership.
Yeah, fantastic. So look at buying carpet, because we want to know what's the best carpet to buy from me. How do they contact you, Franco?
Okay.
Pick your brains.
Pick my brains. So we've got our email address, which is info@facc.com.au. You can call us on 0418 914 097, or if you want the landline number, then that's 9493 3880. I will give you a fax number, but nobody really uses fax anymore. No. Those are the best ways. Or you can contact us directly through our Facebook page as well. So we have the Fresh Air Carpet Cleaning Facebook page. And you'll see some examples of some of the things that I'm talking about, that we've had certain issues with some carpets that we've managed to resolve. But yeah, you can certainly contact us. There's a contact form there and on the website, which is www.facc.com.au. Any way of those ways that are easy to get a hold of us.
Brilliant. Once again, it's been absolute fun talking to you about the world of carpet.
No problem. Thank you.